What's up everyone, Chris with Salty Island Gaming, and we have our first 40k community battle report. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, then consider hitting that subscribe button. We know it's free for you and it means a lot to us. Now on with the game. Let's start out with our guest today. Who are you and what did you bring?
Hey everybody, it's Salty Shy here, bringing in some Genestealer Cult. We've got combat patrol of Genestealer Cult using the Rusted Claw. We have the HQ of the Magus. She's painted gray is color. She's got the Warlord trait of Anthropic Touch, the relic of the Amulet of the Void Worm. Psychic powers are Inescapable Decay and Might from Beyond. And then we have a unit of Acolyte Hybrids, 5 models, all with Hand Flamers, 2 with Rock Saws. And then we have a 9-man unit of Acolyte Hybrids, all with Hand Flamers, 2 with Rock Drills, upgraded with Proficient Planning upgrade of Trap Sprung. Then we have in Fast Attack, we have one Achilles Ridge Runner with the Mining Laser. And then Heavy Sport, we've got one Goliath Rock Grinder with a Cachet of Demolition Charges and a Clearance Incinerator. And that is Combat Patrol of Genestealer Cult.
And on our side, we have painted up a brand new Space Wolf faction voted on you, our community, on our Twitter page. So this is themed after a 13th Company Space Wolf force and painted up in Heresy era colors. It's led by a Primaris Chaplain with the Wolf Priest keyword. We paid to upgrade him to be the Master of Sanctity, giving him access to the Warlord trait Wise Orator. This way he can get 2 litanies a turn and do it on a 2+. He also has the relic Benediction of Fury, the relic Crozius. His 2 litanies are Litany of Hate and Mantra of Strength. For troops, we had a 5-man Intercessor squad, all bolt rifles. And then in the elite slot, a 5-man unit of Wolfen. It's Wizzywig, so 2 Thunderhammer Storm Shield, 2 with the Great Frost Axe, and the pack leader with the Frost Claws. Lastly, we have the legendary Wolfen Dreadnought Murderfang. Today's mission is Run Them Down from Mission Pack Plague Purge. This is an attacker-defender scenario in which the attacker gets +1 on advance and charge rolls during the first 2 turns, while the defender gets free overwatch and ignores combat attrition test modifiers during the first 2 turns. Scoring works as follows. Players score at the end of their own command phase, not counting the first turn, 4 points per objective with a bonus 4 if you control the objective in the opponent's deployment zone. Lastly, 10 bonus points at the end of the game if they have a unit wholly within their opponent's deployment zone. The deployment zones are along the short edge, with the attackers getting a arrow point kind of a deployment zone, and the defenders having essentially the opposite, with an 18-inch no-man land between the two. Roll off for the first turn, and the winner gets to choose if they go first or second. Normally, we don't really go into deployment, but the Genestealer Cult do have a unique mechanic. So of the 5 units, 2 of them are being put in reserve using the Cult Ambush mechanic. The other 2 have deployed using the Blips mechanic, as you can see on the table, the Acolytes deploying inside of the Rock Grinder. Now, Genestealer Cult are allowed to place the Blips during their deployment, which represents a location a model is deploying. However, they don't need to show or even predetermine which model is on which blip until the end of the first movement phase if the Space Wolves go first, or at the start of their turn if the Genestealer Cult goes first. Space Wolves, on the other hand, had chosen with a bit of caution, putting Murderfang the Wolfen Dreadnought out in front, then spacing out the intercessors in the back to help protect the chaplain to prevent the Cult Ambush from sniping out their leader early in the game. In this attacker-defender scenario, the Space Wolves win the roll-off and the right to choose. They opt to give the first turn to the Genestealer Cult, forcing them to reveal themselves. An Achilles Ridge Runner reveals itself behind cover on the top of the board, while the Goliath Rock Grinder crashes through some rubble in the center of the table. Both vehicles move forward, somewhat cautiously, drawing line of sight to Murderfang, the Wolfen Dreadnought. In the shooting phase, 3 mining laser shots from the Ridge Runner and 6 heavy stubber shots from the Rock Grinder open fire, but all the shots bounce off the ancient armored hull. And with no sign of the rest of the army as the GSC ends their turn, they are awaiting the response of the Space Wolves. In the Space Wolf turn, they spend 1 command point to activate Bestial Nature on the Wolfen, so it counts as being in the Assault Doctrine. The Wolfen and the Chaplain advance, hoping to reach the cover of the next building, while Murderfang moves forward ready to charge. The Intercessors walk up to secure the objective in the deployment zone, looking to play on the mission. Murderfang shoots first. 3 shots on a heavy flamer, 4 shots on the Storm Bolter are all brushed off by the Ridge Runner's armor. And then from the back lines, 4 of the Intercessors are able to draw a line of sight, opening fire and managing to push 1 wound through. Moving into the more important charge phase, Murderfang declares a charge against that Ridge Runner, and, per the scenario, the defenders are allowed to use the Overwatch stratagem for free in the first 2 turns, GSC taking full advantage of that. 1 shot from the mining laser goes wide, but 4 shots from the heavy stubber land true, with 1 getting past the ancient armor. Enraged, the Dreadnought makes his charge into the Ridge Runner. Having made a successful charge, Murderfang uses the stratagem Savage Strike, adding +1 to the wound rolls this round. Murderfang has 5 attacks on profile, and, as a special rule, gains +3 attacks from Shock Assault on the charge. He hits on 3s, then wounds on 2s with full rerolls for the wound roll. This sees 5 successful attacks at AP -3. This completely bypasses the armor of the Ridge Runner, and while the Ridge Runner has a 6-up Feel No Pain to ignore those wounds, that's not nearly enough with 15 wounds incoming. The GSC then used the stratagem Rigged to Blow, causing the vehicle to automatically explode, putting a mortal wound on the Dreadnought in a last act of defiance. And at the end of that first turn, it appears the Space Wolves have begun to push into the Genestealer Cult territory, taking back the land for the Emperor. With the Space Wolves having moved up, the Genestealer Cult is looking to counterstrike. In the command phase, they currently do not have anyone holding an objective, so no scoring this turn. 5 Acolyte hybrids disembark from the Rock Grinder, and then move forward with the Rock Grinder advancing onto the Space Wolf position from the bottom half of the table. At the end of the movement phase, a unit of 9 Acolyte hybrids appear at the top of the table, while the Magus makes her appearance next to objective number 2. Now that the Magus is here, we have a Psychic phase. Targeting the Dreadnought, she casts Inescapable Decay, casting on a 6. This is the Rusted Claw's psychic power, and any attacks targeting the Dreadnought now have +1 AP. Then the second cast Might from Beyond on the Acolytes. This succeeds, but on a 12, threatening a Perils of the Warp for her arrogance. But rather than risking the damage, the Genestealer Cult spends the command point to reroll the dice, still succeeding. This adds +1 attack in close combat. The newly arrived unit of Acolyte hybrids opens fire, the entire unit being equipped with hand flamers. These have 12-inch range doing D6 hits each, scoring a total of 31 hits. A bit of off-the-table rolling because of the number of dice ends up only causing 4 wounds, and thanks to Inescapable Delay, the Dreadnought takes 2 more wounds, and taking a Crossfire token for landing more than 5 hits. Next, the 5 Acolytes at the bottom fire their hand flamers into the Wolfen. 5d6 hits, lands 23 hits total, and dealing an impressive 10 wounds. The Wolfen have terrible luck as flames wash over them, only making 3 of the saves, killing 3 of them, and placing a wound on the 4th model. Lastly, the Rock Grinder opens up with its 15-inch flamer into the back of the Dreadnought. 2d6 hits, that's a total of 8 hits, and with the bonus, manages to stick 4 wounds. In a catastrophic roll, Murderfang fails its 4 saves, taking its last wound and felling the mighty Wolfen Dreadnought. Feeling emboldened by the kill, the 5 Acolytes charge into the Wolfen, easily making it into combat. On the Acolyte's turn, 6 Rock Saw attacks, lands 4 hits, but a disappointing 1 wound. They spend the command point for a reroll, obviously failing. As a pro tip reminder, don't spend that CP to reroll these kinds of things. The Wolfen soak that hit on the Storm Shield. Then 13 claw attacks, lands 7 hits, and 2 wounds. The Storm Shield fails 1 though, killing him. When a Wolfen dies in melee, it's got a special rule that says it's still allowed to make its attacks before being removed from the table. Sorry for the lost footage, had a battery issue here, but the Thunderhammer makes 4 attacks, which lands 5 hits for the Space Wolf Super Doctrine, triggering because of Bestial Nature activated in the previous round. 4 wounds ignoring the armor kills 4 Acolytes. The pack leader, equipped with Wolfen Claws, has 5 attacks, getting 5 hits, but only landing 1 wound. Luckily though, it is managed to bypass that Acolyte's armor, wiping out that unit, leaving the last surviving Wolfen, who manages to make his leadership test and carry on the fight. In turn 2, the Intercessors score their objective, putting the Space Wolves on the scoring board. The Space Wolves again spend 1 command point for Bestial Nature, this time on the Chaplain, and the Chaplain successfully chants 1 litany, Mantra of Strength, though he fails on the second. In the movement phase, the Wolfen moves straight ahead into the building. Though the camera can't show it, there is an opening on the opposite side for him to charge through. The Intercessors in the back move forward, looking to take on the large group of Acolytes head on. 5 bolter shots, lands 3 hits, and 2 wounds, which kills 2 of the Acolytes. Moving straight into the charge phase, the Chaplain declares a charge against the Rock Grinder, and again the GSC gets to overwatch for free thanks to the mission scenario. The Stubber fails to hit, though the Flamer deals 3 wounds, one of which gets through, putting the first wound on the Chaplain. The Chaplain makes it into combat with the Rock Grinder, and the last Wolfen makes the long bomb charge into the Magnus hiding in the backfield. The Chaplain spends 1 command point, and he activates Savage Strike. Altogether, the Chaplain currently has 6 attacks on the charge thanks to the litany, hitting on 2s, natural 6s exploding with an additional hit. He has the Relic Crozius, so he is Strength 7, AP -3 because of the assault phase, and +1 to wound rolls, and deals 4 damage per wound. The Chaplain lands 7 hits and 6 wounds. The Rock Grinder saves 1, though still takes more wounds than he can survive. GSC of course spend 1 command point for Rig to Blow again, the Rock Grinder putting 1 more mortal wound on the Chaplain, slowly bringing his health down. On the far side of the table, the last Wolfen swings his 6 claw attacks on the charge, getting 5 hits and 6 wounds. The Magus makes 1 save using her relic, giving her an automatic 6, letting her survive with 1 wound remaining. The Magus attacks back with her Bile Dagger, hitting and dealing a mortal wound on a 3+, then making 2 staff attacks, getting 2 hits and then 2 wounds at AP -2. Being out of storm shields, the last Wolfen falls to the Magus's blows. And at the end of turn 2, the Space Wolves take a scoring lead 4-0. However, the GSC are in prime position to strike back. Turn 3 starts with the Acolytes advancing forward, hopping onto Objective 2, knowing that the Rusted Claw special rule allows them to count as being stationary for the purpose of shooting, even after advancing. The Magus then casts Smite, targeting the Chaplain, putting 2 mortal wounds on him. She goes to cast it a second time and fails, and of course the Magus looks to spend that command point to reroll the casting, and of course she makes an even worse roll, only adding another tally to the failed reroll stratagem. Moving on to shooting, the unit once again unleashes Hand Flamers, 25 hits, and dealing 10 wounds. The Marines themselves fail 2 saves, bringing 1 Intercessor down. The Cult has more tricks in their charge phase, as one command point for genetic lineage allows the Acolyte hybrid unit that advanced to still charge in the same turn. And then starting out with 4 rock drill attacks. The hit of 6 also deals 2 mortal wounds in addition to the 2 hits that automatically wound, killing 2 Marines. Lastly, 16 claw attacks comes in, with 14 hits, and sticking a pretty impressive 5 wounds. Once again a catastrophic roll as 1 sad save and the remainder of the intercessor units falls before the Acolytes. The Space Marine captain looked across the battlefield to see that he was the last one standing. They had charged into the fray, only to be ambushed by the cowardly but effective tactics of the Cult of the Rusted Claw. These Genestealer cultists were not to be underestimated. The chaplain gives one last prayer to the Emperor. Using wolf bombs to heal himself, he moved towards the Acolytes, preparing to smite them with all the fury that he had left. Rock drills and claws swing at him, and while he managed to fell 2 of the inhuman beasts, they bring him to the verge of death. And at the end of turn 3, score is tied, 4 points apiece. In turn 4, from behind, the Magus crept around the corner of the building, watching our Acolytes distract the chaplain. It was what they were trained to do, and it was enough. A single cast of Smite was all it took to remove the last obstacle from the battlefield, and the path for the ascension of the 4-armed Emperor lay before them. This planet would belong to the Cult of the Rusted Claw. We hope that you have enjoyed this narrative Combat Patrol battle report, and this look at the new Genestealer Cult army. If you like what we're doing, let us know by hitting that like button, and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. We're doing our best to bring you new army builds and new players each month, so that way you can always get new hobby ideas flowing for your next project. And of course, if you are in the Las Vegas area and want to come and play a game, we've got our email listed in the description below. Feel free to hit us up. We'll be more than happy to see if we can work something out. But most importantly, we hope you all keep hobbying safely and look forward to our next video. Thank you everybody. Peace out.